Hey everybody, it is Kenny. I am back. It's been quite a long time. It's a few months. I did this earlier this year. That was intentional. This wasn't. And I basically want to tell you where I've been and talk a little bit about this summer for me. Um, I really miss you all. But before I talk anymore, if you're new to my channel, my name is Kenny. My podcast is about travel, exploration, and new experiences. Believe it or not, everything I'm going to tell you today fits into that category, but maybe not in the way you think. I've basically gone helping my family. Um, I'm okay. I'm excited to reconnect with you, and I'm going to talk a little bit about a lot of different things. I'm going to talk about my family, family experience I've had, personal challenges and growth, music, family bonds, uh, navigating difficult situations, all of the above. And, we're going to get to it. I'm sharing a story because I think that some people would appreciate it. I think some of you have gone through this sort of thing before. Um, I think if you haven't, maybe you can find something, something that you can learn from my story. I mean, it's not it's nothing major. It's just a normal thing. I've helped my dad out and my family out, and but for me, after reflection, I just thought it was worthy of sharing, and I think that some will find value, and I will find value in sharing it so I can move past it. And I want to let you know where I've been. I haven't, I love all of you, and I haven't just, you know, I'm not making videos, forget them. I think I could have, but I just did not have the energy. I mean, like, this is something I truly enjoy doing. And it would have been a task to add that one more responsibility to everything I had to do. And I'm going to walk you through that. I grew, and I hope that somebody might grow from hearing me to kind of share this. So let's talk, let's vibe a bit. Um, if you've had experience like this, I'd really like to know in the comments. I mean, I've dealt with quite a bit, and there were some fun times too. So let's get to it. Let me share the story with you. So this all started the end of June. I think I should preface the story by saying, like, my dad's a pretty good dad. He doesn't always respond to me when I call. He doesn't always respond to my text. Um, and that's just the way he is. He gets busy. He focuses on other things. He gets refocused real easy. And sometimes it just doesn't happen. But it doesn't mean he doesn't give a damn or anything. It's just that's something that happens. So the last time we talked a few times. We talked like once a week, and we talked on Father's Day. I can't remember what day that falls on, but we had talked then. I called him, wish him happy Father's Day, and then I hadn't talked to him for a while. I remember calling him one day after the gym, and he didn't answer, and I left a voicemail or something like that. And then I usually leave it to him to get to me, and he does eventually. I hadn't heard from him, and I got a call one day from my brother. I was sitting where I am right now. This is generally where I do work if I'm home when you have my laptop out, and he calls me and said, "Hey, Boo." My family calls me Boo. Friends, people, everybody from the past calls me Boo. Hey, Boo. I have you. What's the last time you heard from Dad? I'm like, I have no idea. In my, I'm relaxed because my dad's been through a lot medically, and so I haven't panicked much because tends to get through things, and I'm like, I haven't heard from him and everything. So he's like, well, I haven't heard from him either. I came to his house to check on him, and he's not answering the door. So mind you, the issue is not only is my dad not answering the door, and he has health issues. He can't get around. He really bad knees, so he tends to use one of those rollators or walker type things. And he's congestive heart failure. He's been in that for I don't know, several years or more. I'm not sure. But this is something he's just been living with, taking medications for, among other things, for other issues. He's not hasn't been the most healthy in recent years. So back to my brother, he says, "Well, I'm here," and I knock on the door. and he didn't answer. So he, you know, he called the police. Police knocked down the door, and my dad was unconscious on the floor. I thought maybe he was gone, but he was unconscious on the floor. And even though that's serious, I still didn't get alarmed. I don't get alarmed very easily. Twice this year, I flew into Baltimore to kind of care for my Uncle James. I forgot to mention that my dad cares for my Uncle James, he has special needs. He's legally deaf, legally blind, and he was there. So my dad, we don't know exactly how long he was passed out, but it was at least a couple days. And my uncle can't cook, can't do anything. So I'm not sure if he ate or anything, but he was alive and he was a little bit panicked. He went into the room with my uncle, and my uncle I think was a little panicked and wondering what was going on, because he can't really see, can't hear or anything. He could see a little bit. I'll tell you a little bit about him later. But the paramedics went in, picked him up, carried him out. He was alive. And there was a big red spot in there. We don't know if it was blood or this or that, because I live in Denver. I wasn't there yet. And yeah, so my brother talking to me, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? He's going to the hospital. I mean, he's gone to the emergency room several times. I flew in twice this year to care for my Uncle James, and and to help out a little bit. So, even though this was an emergency, I didn't think it was that bad. He's had close calls. He's had cancer. He's had, heart disease. He's had this. He's had that. And I mean, my dad just keeps moving. He's been through quite a bit. He's lived through quite a bit of trauma. But anyway, they transported him to Franklin Square for some reason. He lived in Towson. He was close Towson, Maryland, which is northern Baltimore County for people who aren't familiar with that. And it wasn't close to Franklin. We're not sure why they took him there, but it turned out it was a blessing, because those people at Franklin Square were the best. So this was a Friday when this happened, when my brother went by there. We talked back and forth. My brother hung out in the emergency room waiting to see what was up with my dad. They said he was really bad, and he was in a coma, when they brought him in there. And they put him, they put a ventilator and did all kinds of stuff, tubes and everything. And my brother was like, he looks really bad. He was telling me on the phone, he was, a little emotional, but, holding strong, just trying to, we're both hoping our dad is cool. Then we talked a little bit. Then Saturday comes, we're talking back and forth, and, I'm not sure if I should come or not. I'm ready to come, but I'm not sure. The reason why is because, he's had these issues, and like, if I'm honest, he hasn't been taking care of himself as far as eating healthy and getting exercise, doing the things he needs to do. And so it wasn't a surprise. It wasn't. Don't get me wrong. It was not like, well, this is what's supposed to happen because he's been bad, eating bad or whatever. No, it was more like, I kind of expected it, but like, I don't know. You don't never think about, if something serious can happen until it kind of actually happens. And this is a time where something serious happened. So that Saturday night, my brother was like, hey, because I'm like, you think I need to come? He's like, I'm not sure, yeah, maybe you should come and help out, or I'm not sure what the exact conversation, but I wasn't quite getting the seriousness of it. I was like, what's going on? And my brother, couldn't really tell me exactly what was going on, other than my dad was not doing good, didn't look good. And, I could tell he was a little nervous. So I was like, all right, yeah, I'm not sure, can I speak? Let me hook me up with a doctor. So a doctor called me and let me know. Basically she said, it was nighttime, Saturday night. She said, things are not looking good. And, I think that this is a time where you probably need to come out and, see your father. She implied that he was going to die. And, and I talked to another doctor. When that happened, I called my brother up. I was like, yeah, she said it ain't looking good. So I'll be there tomorrow. So I flew out the next day. But before I did that, I talked to another doctor, and he was, kind of giving me the same thing. He's like, yeah, it doesn't, they have a hard time telling people because they know that you love your family and stuff. They have a hard time telling you, that your loved one is about to be gone. Um, so I flew out there, went straight to the hospital, and that's where it pretty much was for the next month. Every day, I was there. I was so much. So every day I had to go in there and get a sticker, and I'd put it on my chest, and had a picture of me, and say I was a visitor and what room I was going to. In order for them to, they had to like type my information in every single time I was in there, but they had to type it in for some reason. So in order for them to hurry up and do that, I kind of the sticker from the first day on the back of my phone and let them see it. And then for some reason, every day I started doing it. I had this stack of stickers for the whole month that, if you're watching this podcast, and I'll probably show you, but a stack of stickers that, I don't know, I collected. I don't know. It was weird, but I was in such a different mind state at that time. So I was shocked. I mean, when I called my brother and told him I was coming, I was just crying. I was like, man, like uh, I thought that was done. I mean, like my dad's a cool dude. We talk a lot. I mean, you'll see him I mean, I have a podcast with him already, and I actually have a vlog with him when he was on that Coast Guard ship Mackinac, and we talk. We have good conversations about everything, about history and philosophy, or he tells me about he's the best storyteller, tells stories about everything. So that was going on. I was like, is that going to end, man? It's sometimes like this, you realize how important people are to you because, I was thinking like, damn, those cool conversations are about to be done, because I was on the impression like maybe it can go, but part of the reason for me to go out there was like, I was like, I really believe in manifesting things. And I went out there with my full purpose is to like be there. And if I can give, you know, share some of my life energy or whatever and just bring some life into him, I will. That was my real purpose. I didn't go out there thinking he was going to be gone. I really believed he was going to live, although it was hard not to be nervous. I mean, like you should have confidence in the good the universe can do. But I did, but I was really nervous. It was just a situation I'd never been in. At the very least, that was brought about a lot of anxiety. I never really, I have both my parents still, and losing one is cool. And a lot of people, I mean, something that everybody goes through for the most part, and you probably have, or some of you probably have. But for me, this was my experience. So I want to talk about how the plane flight was. I mean, I get excited to get on the plane. I'm usually going somewhere cool, somewhere new. Like every time I fly, they take a different path. I see what's on the ground. I mean, I just like I like just being away and doing that. And when I got on the plane this time, uh, I was a mix. It was weird. It was like this is supposed to be exciting. It's not. I didn't really think that, but I was just like something felt out of place the whole time. It was like I'm going to see what's up with my dad and all that. And this is not a fun flight. I probably didn't eat anything for the next couple of days. I think I was like, if I'm not mistaken, I was eating just fruit at that time. I was just eating fruit for a couple of weeks. And then like when that happened, I didn't really eat any fruit, and I didn't really eat anything. And then I've eventually started picking it up again, but my habits started getting really bad. So when my dad went in the hospital, um, I was there every single day. Every day I'd go in there and I'd sit there until the evening for the most part. He was unconscious, but I mean, I would do work. I would do my work there. Um, I would, I would edit my podcast or edit my videos and, do all the things I would do at home. And that's the kind of the good thing about not having to, be in one place. And then I mean, I built relationships with the nurses. The doctors were kind of cool. They would include me on their little rounds and talk about the patients. And, and they were so thorough. They were so informative. Every single day I came in and they knew who I was. And, the doctors were cool with it. And like, they seemed to be really surprised when he pulled around about 9 days later, like he came out, they took the tubes out and he was like, his brain. I mean, he was not really talking. He could barely talk. He could barely talk. He it would sound like this, like so I couldn't understand what he was saying. His brain wasn't all the way there. Like he wasn't like really responding, and then he would sleep, and he'd wake up, and then he have a teeny bit more energy, and then he would sleep, and but he rapidly got better and better, and like because I was prepared for him to be gone. I went to his house, which was a mess, and looked for paperwork. Because when he was unconscious, I was looking for like life insurance, power of attorney, and his will or whatever. Just you know anything that could help me figure out you know I didn't know what his insurance was. I didn't know, like, he hadn't given me any of that stuff. I didn't know anything. I mean, really, he should have gone to the VA hospital, but it didn't even cross my mind. Thank goodness he didn't go to VA hospital. He might not be here. They're a whole nother story. Um, within this story because they really failed him. But as he started to recover, it was like a massive relief. So like he was, his prognosis was good, and they said, like he's getting better, and but they warned us like if his heart stops, chest compression is not going to do anything, so there's no point. We're just letting you know now because we're assuming his heart is the reason why he passed out, but we don't. Nobody really knows. So this was like a daily thing. He was in ICU for quite a while, and those nurses are the heroes. Like I remember during COVID when COVID was going on, they're talking about nurses, the heroes and medical staff, and I agreed. I was like, they're working hard, dealing with just this. I'm proud of them. That's cool. But I felt it. They are the most professional people on the planet. Like the nurses in Franklin Square Hospital, like they were on it. They were on it every time. I have nothing bad to say about any of those nurses. They were the best. And doctors were cool too and stuff. But I mean, like the nurses were the ones that are around him. They're the one to putting the tube in and wiping his ass, lifting him up and moving him. And they all had their own way of doing it, but they were like ultra professional. But I don't know. Like I wish I should have did something nice for him. My dad bought him cookies or something like that, and probably did some other stuff. He's super generous dude, and so like he woke up after maybe 10 days. He was in there a total of maybe 30 days. So he woke up in 10 days. After 10 days, he slowly started recovering within those like next 20 days, and it's basically me hanging out. We hang out there. Initially, like I was trying to communicate with him, and it was really difficult because like he understood me, but he couldn't bring himself to articulate what he was like, whatever idea he was trying to share with me. And but eventually everything came back, and it was a crazy experience. So like, again, like this was super emotional. This whole time that I'm there, well, maybe after the first week or so, get back to James. My uncle James went to my mom's house. My mom is not married to my dad anymore, and she's not related to James. But to help us, and to my dad to some extent, she took James in for like a week or so, and fed him, took care of him, washed his clothes. But as soon as my dad woke up, then we figured it out. Like I wasn't staying at his house. I wasn't staying at his house when I was there at first because his house was horrible. It had fruit flies. It had stuff in the sink, trash. So my dad, he is somewhere. I always explain it this way. So you got collectors, and then you have uh You have collectors and then you have hoarders. My dad's probably like right in the middle. Okay, so he likes comic books, he likes graphic novels, he likes books, he likes action figures, he likes models, he likes battle suits like mecha from Japanese anime and things like that, or mecha mechs, like Gundam and stuff like that. And he has so much. He just buys stuff, so much stuff, and collects it all. But there's no organization, and so it's all over the place. Also, because so I'm gonna get to the house in a second, but this is why I wouldn't stay at the house at first. So we worked something out, and we hired cleaners to come clean the bathrooms and stuff. Because mind you, my dad is disabled, and things weren't all that clean. And they came in, knocked things out. I got rid of the fruit flies after like a couple weeks. And he had this mattress that he'd never used yet. He had it all folded up in a box. I opened it up and just threw it on the floor. And started. So from that point on, I had James with me. I'd go to see my dad. James would come with me. He'd sit there. He loves the Ninja Turtles. He's 50 years old, by the way. He loves the Ninja Turtles, so I'd throw my tablet out there. I have my tablet and my laptop. I'm working from a laptop. Give him my tablet, put Ninja Turtles on. Like, they have like a live YouTube channel that will just play it forever. And so he watches that. He is legally blind. He can barely make it, but he can make out enough to know what Ninja Turtles are. But and when he reads, he breaks out his magnifying glasses. But I was caring for him, going to see my dad every single day. Um, and that was the routine. So after being in the hospital for about a month, he gets out of the hospital on July 29th. It was raining so hard. There was no way you could step out of your vehicle and not get wet. So he went from the hospital to this place called Franklin Woods down the street. And I was excited. I was really happy. I thought, like, this is the beginning. He's gonna be in there for a week or a month maybe, and then he's gonna move into some other place to assisted living because I was getting rid of his apartment. And it was dark. He got out late at night. The ambulance took him over on a stretcher. I drove over there, waited for him. It was just down the block, and took him in there, and it was really quiet. People didn't really talk, and it was just a completely different vibe from the hospital. And that was kind of a sign of what to expect from them. I hated that place, but I'm not going to talk too much about it. But I want to share my experience because this was a daily thing. I was going to see my dad daily. I'd go to Franklin Woods. Most of the people were generally nice, greet you, but I go in there, walk through the sliding doors. This was a physical therapy place, by the way. My dad had to, recover from, being in the hospital. And you'd go to this machine, and they would take your picture and take your temperature. And I'm always trying to be happy, have fun. It was just terrible situation being there, but I'd go up, and you'd go to the camera, put your face there, and I was like, nah, because I was tired of. Remember, I collected those stickers, the stickers from Franklin Square Hospital, and I was like, they printed out the same picture each time. Well, I had to take a new picture every time at Franklin Woods, so I'd make a face. I go, or something like that. Maybe I'll send you a picture of it. Or I'm thinking about making the actual thumbnail of this video. But that was it. And every single day I would make a new face. I go or go, or something weird, because it's fun. And the receptionist every day would wait for me to make that face, and she'd tell I didn't know she knew, but then she told my dad he always makes a face when he comes in. And so, she would wait for me to make the face, and I'd put the sticker on, and then be gone. One time, James, my uncle, saw me make a face, and he actually laughed, which was kind of cute. So that was my experience there. I saw him there every day. They served the most horrible food. They think they're the most disrespectful, administration that run that, because it's like, this food, you're not going to serve this to you would never allow your family to eat this, and you wouldn't eat it. So why would you serve it to somebody else? Hook up with some more quality food, get the kitchen staff to be more prideful about what they make. My dad went there one time, I dropped him off. He had a salad, nice salad, and all that stuff. And somebody there ate a salad. A staff member ate a salad. Either ate it or threw it away. I mean, but it had only been there for a few hours. So, yeah, it was really crazy. So, long story short, he had a wound because when he passed out, he fell. I don't know if he fell or what happened, but he was laying on his hip. He was there long enough. I mean, he was alive, but he was there long enough to like for that flesh on the part of his hip that he fell on. Um, that piece of flesh died, and it died, and I don't know how it happened. I tried to avoid looking at it. My dad tried to show me a million pictures of it. I told him to put that stuff away. But it was pretty large, and he needs to go to what he needed to do to recover at least for a year or so is go to assisted living, and they're able to monitor him, give him support, give him all the things that he needs to kind of thrive and get better. But Maryland has some weird law that if you have a wound, it must heal 100% before you can go into an assisted living. They won't let you. So he was stuck in this. He was stuck in that Franklin Woods for a couple months. Okay, and this is the issue. My dad does all his medical things through the VA, where he has free service. So they put him in Franklin Square. Medicare paid for that. He's 73 years old. But they needed to move him into like a rehab, like Franklin Woods. And initially we were trying to get him in the VA. But the woman, this is the only thing I have to say about Franklin Square. The social worker there, like, pressured me to like get my dad out, pick one of these places, and I'm trying to get in the VA, which took a little longer. And so like I picked Franklin Woods thinking it was like a decent alternative, but it's almost like I felt like I was tricked, which I'm pretty pissed about. So my dad, since he had VA insurance, he doesn't have supplemental Medicare insurance. And so after 20 days, they stopped paying for rehab. So my dad was paying like $216 a day for 2 months. So, yeah, it's wild, He eventually got out of there yesterday. So I'm really happy about that. My goal when I was there to do three things: take care of my uncle, put my uncle and get some care for my uncle, take care of my dad, get him into assisted living. We did that yesterday. And then also clean my dad's apartment out and put his stuff in storage and get rid of his apartment. I was just ready to go home. I wasn't there for pleasure or leisure. I mean, it was cool seeing my daughter and all that stuff, my mom, my brother, my dad, after he got better. But he was, that wasn't cool. I brought like a couple little outfits. I think I brought like maybe like 3 shirts, brought 2 pairs of shoes, one of which got destroyed, which I'm going to tell you about. Just got a new pair today, actually. And I didn't have much. Basically, cleaning that apartment was, kind of the second most difficult thing, other than emotionally being difficult dealing with my dad. It smelled bad. It looked bad. I might have a few pictures to show you if you're watching this podcast, but it looked pretty bad. It looked better than it would have because earlier this year I came and just tried to organize a lot of my dad's stuff, but it got unorganized. I mean, there was still some stuff that was organized, but he got some of the stuff, it just got pretty bad again. My dad had action figures all over the place. He had comics all over the place. He had graphic novels all over the place, books all over the place, knives all over the place. My dad has always carried a knife. I carry a knife. My grandfather carried a knife. I mean, they come in useful. But my dad, for some reason, if he carried every knife he had, I was counting them. Sometimes I'd be cleaning. Pretty much every day I was cleaning when I wasn't there. It was hard. It was 2 bedrooms, and it was pretty big. It was a nice big apartment in an affluent area, and he had stuff everywhere, in every room, in every closet, and every bathroom was full of things. So I'd be on the phone, might be talking to a friend or something like that, a friend or something like that while I'm cleaning, and I'm like, how many knives How many knives am I going to find? How many watches am I going to find? How many of this I'm going to find? I mean, because I found there are certain things that he had a lot of. A lot of this stuff is like paraphernalia. My dad likes Doctor Who and all kinds of sci-fi things. He probably had, no joke, he probably had maybe 500 T-shirts or more. I had garbage bags full of T-shirts that I had found, everywhere. There was T-shirts in a pile. There were T-shirts under this. There were T-shirts over that. T-shirts everywhere. It might have Captain America. It might have Doctor Who. It might have Star Trek. It might be about some convention. Batman. Um, you know, all kinds of characters that aren't mainstream that you probably you may or may not have heard of. He likes Iron Man a lot, so he had like I don't know like I too many Iron Men to count. My mom's in Baltimore, my dad's my brother's in Baltimore, my daughter's in Baltimore. That's my family, But I spent most of I cleaned it all myself, and the reason why my brother has he drives a truck. He goes into work. Um, my mom is not they're divorced, so she has no obligation to him, and she's really helping us. I mean, she cares. She went to see my dad in the hospital. She wants the best for him, but she and I don't. And the house was gross. It was nasty. Um, my daughter, doing her own thing, and so like I cleaned the whole thing. Um, Lots of heavy things, lots of awkward things. I threw so much stuff away. There was so much stuff to throw away. It wasn't like I didn't throw away anything that was you know, of any value, but there was trash. There was like everything that was in the sink that was bed had been sitting there. I threw away. I wasn't about to clean nothing. I mean, he had a dishwasher, but I wasn't about to do that. I mean, I did clean to some extent, but it was mostly after myself in the bathroom, like the living room, bedrooms, all that other stuff. It stayed the way it was. I mean, the bedrooms for the most part were clean. My Uncle James stayed in one. I stayed in the other bedroom. Um, I spent so much time in that house. When I finally left it, it was so much sad. It was like a experience. It was experience that I reflected about a little bit, but did most of my reflecting when I got home because I just did not have time. I did not have time. I mean, I was just every day. When I tell you with with full honesty, there's not a day. Now there were a couple days I didn't see my dad in the hospital or in the rehab. There's not a day that I stayed in that house every single day for 2.5 months. Every day from the day I got there to the day I left, I was on the go. Never relaxed. Never. I rested at night. But I did a lot of packing throughout the night. It took me all of about a couple months. I mean, not full time, but all that to get the apartment ready. And I put everything in boxes. And while I'm doing this, I'm visiting my dad. I'm occasionally seeing my daughter. Um, you know, uh, Caring for my uncle who has his own needs. I have to feed him breakfast, lunch, and dinner, snacks. I have to do his laundry. When we're out together, it's with a child they can see and hear. They might not want to listen to you if you have that kind of kid, but it's they can see and hear, but he can't. So like he knows your shape and he can follow you, but the moment you step out of his frame, he has no peripheral vision. You can't see him. So I'm dealing with that at the same time. I had to say dealing with it. I love my uncle and he's such a gentle, great dude. And I want to share him to you too. But this is all what's going on while I'm in that apartment. And I mean, my dad had tons of trash bags and good for him to have that because I threw so much stuff away. When I needed some time to, I guess, try to reflect. I don't know if I want to say reflect because I try to think about things, but I could only be in the moment at that time. And for the most part, I mean, I had challenging times. I can only be in the moment. I'd go out on his balcony, and the balcony is on Delaney Valley Road in Towson. If any of my people from Maryland are on here listening, you know where that is. But it's right there, and I see Towson Town Center. I see the cars going by every Friday, Saturday night. Cars are racing. The place I lived is just it's lots of students. from the school there, and they're out doing crazy things, kicking your trash over for some reason, and stuff like that. And I'm just out there looking, reflecting, just smelling, the air, which was not good air, by the way. I mean, like I bought my dad, I went and got what was it, a air purifier earlier this year, and put it in his house. Every time I opened that door to the balcony, like it would turn red, saying that it was, polluted air, I guess. But the balcony was my place. And when we got rid of that place, it was the 2 days before I left. Some movers came, they moved it, put the stuff in storage, and I just looked at that apartment and thought about all the things I'd done in it. I slept in it. My dad had the queen size bed. I threw it on the floor. There was not much else in the room. I slept in that bed. Bought some sheets, and every single day went to the bathroom. He had this big bathroom with this giant bathtub and this shower and a million mirrors. And I'd look in the mirror and play some music in the morning, drink some, matcha latte. I'd go over. I mean, like I really wasn't messing with caffeine, but like there was a Starbucks not too far. I'd go to the Starbucks and get some, matcha latte with oat milk. And I was, getting my caffeine on that whole time. And I think that was really kind of burning me out a little bit too, because it became, it became a habit. I was doing matcha a lot, green tea and matcha. I don't do well coffee too much. I mean, it takes a little bit of caffeine to kind of get me going. What was interesting about that place also was, it was difficult to get into. You had to get into the garage. Then I had to drive up maybe like 3 or 4 levels. I had to, it was very tight spaces. The whole garage was made of concrete. I was renting cars galore. I probably rented like 10 cars since I was there, 10 different cars. The reason why I didn't keep the same one is because I was trying to get deals. So like if if you get a deal on like Priceline, that deal lasts for, a certain amount of time. And so like when I rented a new one, I got a brand new deal. So that's what I just, and also part of it was I didn't know how long I was going to be there. I was hoping to get out of there. I got a van. I want to say it was a Pacifica or something like that. Those things are bigger than I thought. And I was driving through the garage. And so like there was these corners, you try to like stay tight, and there was a car coming, and I like scratched up the side of that. And I was like, oh man, at least I had insurance. So they're dealing with that right now. But that was the only little incident that I had there. But you had to drive to that long garage. Then you go to the door to get into the building. You got into that building with a code, and you walk down a hall, and it took about 3 minutes to get there. That's how long the halls were. And then you finally were home. So like if you got groceries, I mean, hope you in shape, because you get in shape living in those halls. And when I got rid of all the stuff, it felt like I really accomplished something. It was another, like the other challenge with getting rid of that his apartment was the storage. Like his storage, he hadn't been in that storage in many years. They just automatically charged him. He didn't know what was in there. I mean, maybe a little bit he knew what was in there. There was debate before he woke up from coma if it even existed. Like my cousins had called me and said, like, I think that it's gone or destroyed or something. I can't remember what it was, but it turns out it was there. But it was a lock that no one had a key to. So I wasn't about to get no locksmith. So what I did was go to Home Depot and get me one of those little what do you call them, little saws, whatever it was. I wasn't supposed to take it into the storage place. So I took it in there, and had some like bought vice grips and rented the little whatever, and then held on to it, and it was like, and there was sparks everywhere. I'm like, oh man, some kind of fire alarm's gonna go off. But I'm like, I'm still not paying for no, my strategy. I don't know if it worked. My strategy was do it for a minute, 45 seconds, stop, let the smoke dissipate, and maybe it won't hit the uh, smoke detectors. You might be like, well, why didn't you just pay for the locksmith? Because I didn't need to. Why? For what? I mean, I'm sure I wasn't allowed to do that, but I did it. So I popped it open, got open, thank goodness, and that was that. They moved everything in there, and they barely fit everything in there. I mean, they fit everything in that apartment because there was other stuff in there, and that was that. Closed it up, I was out, and that was in an apartment, and I drove off and just thought about for a second, like how long it took me to pack that stuff up, how long it took me to find his storage unit, and how it, what all the things I had to do to get in it. I mean, the first time I tried to use the saw on it, um, the extension cord wasn't long enough, and I had to persuade somebody at Home Depot to give me a extension cord. And and so they did that, and I got it open. That was that, and that's how the house went. There's probably so much more I can tell you about that house. I mean, there was so much there, and but it was a thing, and it's over, and I'm glad. But my roommate in that house was my Uncle James. Um, he so Uncle James, I might show you a couple pictures on here. He's 50. He was born in Louisville, Kentucky. He's only lived outside of the state for about a year and a half. He moved here last year because he moved to, not here. I'm in Denver. He's in Baltimore. He moved to Baltimore. So my step grandfather, Buddy, died. That was his dad. His mother, my grandmother, died years ago. So my dad went there, sold the house, brought my Uncle James back. Unfortunately, my dad did not get him a state ID, did not get him registered and with Medicaid, and he wasn't registered in the state at all. So I had to didn't know what to do with him. I couldn't stay in Baltimore. My mom can't keep him, which she has him now, and I'm still working on it right now. She has him now, but like we need care for him. I was doing all this trying to get him Medicaid. He has Medicare, trying to get him Medicaid because that's what he needs to get assistance for care. He is obese. He has hypertension. He's blind. He's legally deaf. Uh, you know, I mean, the part that pisses me off the most is that he's obese because he doesn't feed himself. No one throughout my uncle's life has fed him healthy. No one. I'd fed him healthy. He was more active and everything when I was there, and he was doing pretty good. But let me tell you about a little bit more about him. So he, my family, my grandfather didn't do very much with him. He stayed in a room. He wasn't very active. I think earlier in life he was. When he went to school, I think he got into some programs directly after high school, but I think that kind of waned after a while. Very creative. I found out that he could build Legos. I remember distinctly as a kid going to Louisville with my dad. We took a bus across the country, went to Louisville, and I remember seeing my uncle, who's just a few years older than I am, uh, making rings and different things with aluminum foil. And I was like, you know what? He has a creative mind. I think everybody has a creative mind, and but I saw him display it back then. I was like, maybe it's still there. So I got these Legos, like different sets of Lego. Well, I got one first, and he put it together. And so I bought him a few more, and he kept putting them together. I have some more. I'm not sure if anybody's helping him put it together. Probably not, but he has some. And like when he gets into a program, I think he'll be able to do things like that, interact with people and stuff. But I took him to the park. I took him to Dave and Buster's. We went everywhere together. If I left the house, he went with me. I just, because he needed fresh air and he needed to be active. I was extremely active. Um, and so, I just felt like activity and sunlight and fresh air is good for everybody. And it was good for him. And he was thriving, he was doing really good. He loved to eat though. That was his only pleasure, and people try to kind of, like, hey, here's some food. You good? Okay. But there's more to it. And he was opening up. He was talking to me. He didn't really talk. And he'd be like, James Shacklet. That's his last name. James, and I was teaching my name, and he was like, Kenneth, cause my dad's name's Kenneth. I'm Kenneth. My brother's, one of the first people to realize that, he could read or whatever. I mean, I did see him reading the Legos, But I mean, like my brother was also kind of communicating with him too. My brother, since I've been gone, took him to, I think it was like Philadelphia or something. They took him to a baseball game, football game, or something like that. But he's such a gentle person. He was around a kid, and he was like really gentle with the kid, and let the kid see his Ninja Turtle. I bought him early this year. I bought him this plush Ninja Turtle, and Callie, my daughter, bought like a mini turtle. So he took the mini turtle and put it in the belt of the bigger turtle, and he carries it everywhere. So like everywhere I go, he has this Ninja Turtle with him. People are looking at him and stuff because my uncle, he has somewhat of a scowl. It looks like he's mean, but he's not. It's just his face. That's how face is. So they don't know what to make of him. People are like, excuse me, and stuff like that. I'm like, sorry, he can't hear you. I have to like talk to people everywhere I go. I do hand signals with him. I'm like, I tap him, or or something like that, meaning like, stay where you're at, because sometimes I'd have to walk off real quick to do something. I had to go to the bathroom with him, because if I didn't, he takes all his rings off the washes. He when he moved into my dad's house, he took all my dad's clothes. My uncle just had plain old clothes. But my dad has superheroes and all kinds of stuff. So he started wearing my dad's t-shirts, my dad's hats, which he had probably hundreds of those too. And he took my dad's rings. So my uncle's wearing rings, and he's wearing my dad's hat and shirt everywhere he goes and stuff. Because this, it's like it's cool, and because he's used to doing that. When he lived with his dad, my step grandfather, he's also blind, so my uncle would be able to just do whatever he wanted. My grandfather would not know what he was doing, So he started doing that when he got to my dad's house. He would just grab stuff and put it in. And so his room is full of my dad's clothes that he chose to wear. But he's like a child in a sense, he's really childlike. But like I said, we went to the park. He played on, can't remember what it was. He was jumping on something, and he was having a good time. We went to Dave and Buster's. He was, playing the video game. So, well, I'm demonstrating like a home video game, but we did this Mario Olympic thing, and he didn't even know exactly what the game was about, but he could see somewhat the demonstration. So he tried to do whatever it was, and he looked like he had a good time. Sometimes there were things that sparked him to speak. We'd be driving, he'd see clouds. He'd be like, he would say, so he talked, and you couldn't quite understand him. He go, rain, rain. He sees rain clouds, and he knew that rain. And then he talked about the window wiper, and he'd go whoosh, 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 whoosh. And every time we go see my dad, he'd be like, we go back down to the nursing home. I think his hearing has diminished, so I think he could hear a bit more, and he definitely knows words. He can speak, but I don't think he can hear at all now. I took him to, as I said, he didn't have any state insurance. He has state insurance in Kentucky, which doesn't apply in Maryland. So we went to the Minute Clinic a couple times, and I had him clean his ears. I thought he'd be able to hear then. That didn't help, and I really wanted. I want to grow, and I'd like to see when other people grow. And I know that my uncle, despite being, having special needs, he could grow. And, so like, I don't think anybody was hugging him or doing anything. I'm not certain. I know my uncle hugged my dad a lot in the hospital, but like, I made sure I hugged him. I shook his hand. I hugged him. I put my hand on his shoulder. I wanted to show him some love. I would let him do things like point to things and let him put in a basket, because he would just usually follow people. Like my dad, he would follow him and throw it out and just follow people. But I would let him pick some stuff out and let him do things to feel alive. And it felt like he felt more alive, because other than that, he's just droning around following people, and nobody really had the heart to really include him for some reason. But that's where, that was our experience. And I loved to see joy in my uncle's face. He smiled. He smiled, occasionally about certain things. I put a wig on him one time. He thought that was funny. I bought him coloring, like Ninja Turtle coloring books and Ninja Turtle shirt and Ninja Turtle this and that. And he loved it all. And you know, that dude really is a gentle, kind soul, and and being around him and getting to spend time with him really blessed me. It really blessed me. I feel like that's pure innocent humanity right there in a way. I mean, he's like a kid that never grew up, but he's an adult. I mean, he's an adult, but the way we communicate and his understanding of the world is really simple, and so that's why I equate him to a child. But I can't wait to see him again. I am working on getting him into some place that can help him. I've been struggling with Medicaid. Medicaid has been a beast. Maryland Health Connection. If you got some connects through Health Connection, get at me, because these people, they directed me to the Department of Human Services. Department of Human Services denied my uncle for what he needs. And so, like, I'm like, what do I do? He clearly is disabled, needs help. So what is out there? So I'm working on that still. He's a good guy, and and I love him, and can't wait to see him again. Doing everything that I did, helping my uncle, my dad, and cleaning that house, it was just busy. Um, I did not live as healthily as I'd like to. My gym, I go to a gym out here that's not out there. And me not knowing when I was going home, I know it was 2.5 months. Me not knowing when I was going home, I was like, well, what's the point of me joining a gym out here? If I had known I would have been there for 2.5 months, I would have definitely, I would have definitely joined a gym. Um, the extent of my working out was like squats and push-ups and, random calisthenics to keep me going sometimes. But sometimes I was just wild exhausted, and I didn't, I did that and stayed somewhat consistent here and there, but not that the intensity is what I missed. I usually work out, pretty heavy, because I'm sitting down a lot. Other than when I'm traveling stuff, when I'm working, I'm sitting at a desk or sitting at a table or sitting on a couch or sitting. So I try to counteract that with activity. Maybe they'll come up a way where you can, go hiking and do your work or something at the same time. But when I went there, I mean, I stayed generally raw, but I mean, I ate. There's a time when I went and got like McDonald's fries. I don't know why those things are so addictive. Like McDonald's fries. Um, what else did I do? I mean, there was also a place called Royal Farms in Baltimore, in Maryland. We call it the Farm Store. They have these Western fries, and look, anybody knows about the Western fries knows that they are not vegan, because I think they fry them in the same oil as that chicken, but those fries are good. So I ate some of those, and so yeah, my whole routine was thrown off. Um, but I just, my goal, and the thing that I have heard that I remind myself to do is to be gentle with myself. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody, you know, veers off a little bit from their habits. I mean, look, all y'all who was raised healthy and was playing sports and had families that ate healthy food, good for you. Because I wasn't. I've kind of breaking being programmed into eating processed and crappy food most of my life. I've been vegan and vegetarian since over 20 years, or nearly 25 years, but I haven't eaten healthy food, though. You could be vegan and eat just as bad as if you eat meat. I mean, being active is no excuse not to be active. And I was pretty active. For me, though, I like to lift. I like to do intense exercise. It makes me feel good. And not doing that, I definitely started feeling a change. Now, I did do some intense exercise, but not in the way you might think. I'll tell you in a second or in a little bit. I know this is going long, but yeah, my sleep patterns were messed up. I was, trying to get home and do work at night. And so like I'd be going to bed at like 1, 2 in the morning, getting up later. My goal was to remain present as much as possible. And while I was present, I got to appreciate the things I was doing. Even when I was tired, I got to appreciate going to see my dad and what could I get out of it? I don't, man, you can find something else cool out. Find something else about your family that's cool today from your dad. You probably need a laugh. And yeah, I can tell you almost every time I go there, I might be tired and my dad did something or said something to make me laugh. And it just made it worth it. Um, you know, it was cool to see my other family. I didn't see Callie as much as I wanted. I didn't see my mom as much as I wanted. I didn't see my brother that much. We saw me and my brother probably saw each other the most because he was in and out of the hospital too. We especially when my dad first went in there, we were coordinated and working together. And really, like he's a good dude. Like my brother's a good dude. He drives a truck and we work together to make this all happen. And I love him. If you're watching, Kendall, I love you. That's my brother, Kendall. So, um, yeah. So that was it. And but through all this, the stress, the bad eating, the lack of exercise, the lack of sleep, the busy routine, it was friends, family, and music that got me through. Friends, family, and music. First of all, like my new friend, which I haven't talked to her since I was in Baltimore, but it's my dad's friend Belle. She was such a blessing. She came up. She's my dad. He calls her his work daughter. My dad worked for the IRS and he worked with her. And she'd come in with me. We talk, we hang out. And just talk about my dad and just talk about how cool he was and how generous he was. She would talk to him, I would talk to him, and man, I never thought I feel like I feel emotional, but I don't want to. I didn't. I mean, it's okay to be emotional. I didn't think I was going to, but reflecting. I mean, this first time reflecting on like what she brought me food one time. That just it meant a lot because it was a lot to do all that stuff. My cousin Debbie and my cousin Camille. So they I hadn't talked to them in so many years. I remember Debbie coming to my mom's house one time and years ago. Camille I hadn't seen since maybe we were teenagers or kids. And Jessica's another one, the sister of Camille. And I'd seen her relatively recently, the last 10 years. But Debbie and Camille call me almost every day, checking on me, give me an advice. Camille is a lawyer, and Debbie, well, she has a master's degree in law, and she's worked in that, and she was so knowledgeable and helped me so much. Debbie, she is social worker. She's like a doctorate in social work, and she does really big things and helps a lot of people, and really helped me that day. She told me it's like she knew I mean, clearly she's seen this, been through it, because she knew what I was going through and knew like I was getting tired and would tell me to get rest, and knew there were times where like there was one particular time where like I was tired, I was a little discouraged, and she you know said something that made me like snap to it and realize like not keep going, you got to keep it moving. Because I mean, even though I was never like depressed or anything, but like there were times where I was just a little down, but I always was like, tomorrow's a new day. And that's how I always was, I always am, just tomorrow's a new day. I try to end whatever happened today in that day and let the next day start. Hey, if y'all ever stumble upon my podcast, I love y'all, and I haven't called them. I feel ashamed to say that, but I'm human, and I came back here and decompressed, and I'm still decompressing to some extent, but I'm kind of back to life, so I need to call them and tell them I love them and thank you. But they really did that for me. I need to call Belle and tell her I love her and thank her for what she did to support my dad. Both of them really in support of my dad, but they're really kind to me and really helpful to me. Um, and my mom, who also came up to see my dad, she's taking care of James. Um, I mean, I mean, you know, I got good people, I've got good people, and it's cool when you got good people, good mom, good dad. I mean, like, look, they're divorced. They said, hey, it ain't working out. We can't be together, but they still cared about each other to the point where my mom helped my dad out, went to visit him. My dad like sent my mom a gift, and it was just some cool stuff. My daughter coming in and helping um and just kind of talking to me, visiting my dad, and just and listen to me vent. Like, really, like, she's the only person that really heard me vent, like, about everything and how I really felt about everything. I hope, if any of y'all have kids, I hope you have the relationship that I have with my daughter, because, like, we're close. We talk about all kinds of stuff, and it's the kind of relationship I always wanted with her. And I'm going to explain why even more. This might be a real long podcast. So if you need to go get a sip of water, if you need to go use the bathroom or something, just press pause and then unpress pause and then come back and listen to the rest of this, because I think some of this is therapeutic, me saying all this stuff, but also, I want to share this experience, and then I want to get on with my life and show you some cool videos and talk to some cool people. I hope you stick around. My kid is cool. I mean, when she was born, I've always loved music so much. And, I listen to everything, I listen to everything, every genre, something I like. I don't like everything, but I'll listen to pretty much every genre. And, Callie heard me doing that, and she listens to a lot of music. And, I always thought, like, it'd be so cool if she can go to a concert with me one day. At that time I was listening to, like, System of a Down and stuff like that. And she grew up, and now she likes System of a Down. I mean, they're not my favorite band, but a couple songs I like from them. But I always wanted to share my love of music with someone. Like, I mean, if you if any of you know me personally, I love music. You know it. You know all the groups I like. How all my Spotify playlist. I always have my earphones listen. I love it, and, like, I wanted to share that with her. And we did to some extent. She listened to a lot of different things growing up than I did, but we'd share and try to appreciate each other's music, and it was cool. 2000, 2017, I came across this band called King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. I'll say it again, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. They are a rock band from Australia. They had 7 people, then I have 6 people now. And they are these genre jumping musicians. They're these guys who just love music. I want to have a whole episode about them one day. Because I'm thinking about doing episodes of, like, that outside of vlogs. We'll talk about it another time, but I want to share them one day, because they they have they have hip hop music, they have acoustic music, they have jazz music, they have rock music, they have metal music, they have, you know, anything in between. There's almost no genre they haven't touched. They have 25 albums that they've made within 10 or 11 years or something like that. And they're all good. If you haven't, if you haven't heard of them and you like if you like music, listen, try something out. I don't even know where to have you start. If you want me to tell you where to start, ask me in the comments. I'm telling you about this because Callie has seen me become, a huge fan of them over the years. She flew into Denver. We went and saw them live. I saw them in Red Rocks. So it was a difficult time in Baltimore, you know, dealing with my dad, dealing with James, dealing with apartment, dealing with the humidity. Yeah, I can't deal with that Baltimore humidity. But anyway, dealing with all the things I want, and dealing with not being home. My cats are home. My bed is home. It was stressful. So I'm looking at my phone one day, and Spotify gives me an alert. Guess what it says? King Gizzard and Lizard Wizard is starting their tour in Washington, D.C. D.C. is just down the street. I mean, like, it's an hour away. We can just slide down there really quickly. I called my daughter. I said, "Do you and Evan, she just got engaged. Her and her current fiance, I'm like, do y'all want to go to the show with me?" And they were like, "I'm down." So I bought the tickets. We drove down. I picked her up, and who drove? Did I drive? I don't know who drove. I can't remember. But we all went down there, picked him up. He lives in Columbia, and we went to DC. I mean, when I tell you that show rocked, I mean, my daughter. So me, Evan, and her went in there. We were kind of in the middle. So when King Gizzard came up, I think most of the fans were there for them. Geese was a really good band. Some people were there for them, but they came up. The whole crowd just kind of pushed forward, and then they started playing their song "Dripping Tap." That is the most rocking song ever, and that I love it. And they started that, and that crowd was automatically energized. I mean, DC's known for, you know, how their crowds are just really active and stuff. I think like there was a big punk scene in DC and stuff. So like, it has that kind of, so that might be why they started there. But it was rocking the whole show. So as I told you, King Gizzard has some metal songs. They have a couple metal albums. And when they played that, the crowd just we turned into sardines. The whole thing just kind of squished together. And then like mosh pits started breaking out, people spinning around. And I'm like, Callie, I gotta go in. And so she comes in, and don't you know something that I never imagined? I imagined rocking with my daughter at a show. I never imagined Marshall with my daughter. Me and her was in the mix, and we was just dancing and jumping and pushing and shoving, and it was just, it was. I was gonna say out of control, but it was in control. The thing about it is like people have this impression of mosh pits being, um, people have this impression of mosh pits being this horrible, dangerous place that you're gonna get a black eye and break your ankle in and stuff. And I'm sure that's happened plenty of times. But moshing is like a high energy form of dancing that you'll see at like metal shows. I think you might see it at rock concerts. I don't know, but most of the times I've seen it has been metal. And people are moving in like intensely to the music, intensely as in like jumping, dancing, running, rowing. Like, I mean, like it's crazy. Like I might throw some clips of the people, they just get on the ground rowing. I mean, it's just anything goes. I mean, it really like kind of fosters a sense of community, and King Giz fans are the best. Before the show starts, King Giz puts this message up and says, pretty much like, look, mosh pits are for everybody, from tall, short, fat, skinny, black, white, gay, straight, be good to everybody, love everybody, help people. And so in the mosh pits, you don't see people punching people and all that stuff. You have people falling, you see people stopping and picking people up. If somebody loses a shoe, the whole crowd is like, shoe, shoe, shoe. And they put it up in the air, and and somebody finds realizes they lost their shoe. Speaking of shoes, my shoes were destroyed. I'm thinking like, well, let me go in there in my little running shoes. My feet are gonna be comfortable, and didn't imagine I'd be getting the mosh pit with my daughter. So, but it happened, and my people were stepping on my feet. I was stepping on people's feet. My shoes just got like ripped and stuff and dirty and destroyed. I mean, I don't. It's unbelievable. Maybe I'll throw a clip of that up real quick. But yeah, me and her were in the mix. I mean, I was doing some daddy defending though. Like I was, pushing people. When I saw people coming her way, I push them and stuff like that. But she did her thing. It appears crazy, but it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. If it's not for you, it's not for you. But it's a good thing. And it was for me and my daughter that night, and we had a good time. Their music does something for me. I enjoy it. I think my channel is called Novel World Travels, and I thrive on novelty, and that's in every aspect of life. I like new things, like I sometimes I move on to something else. And when it comes to music, I enjoy different kinds of music. Like I'm not listening to just hip hop. I'm not listening to just classical. I'm listening to everything. And King Gizzard kind of gives you all that, and you can feel their passion. So, you know, you don't gotta like them. I'm just trying to tell you why I love them. And I telling you why I love my daughter because she came with me, and had that experience with me, and I was worn out. I was worn out, and that's mostly because like I didn't eat great after. I hadn't eaten the whole day, and then like after I'd had you know ran myself into the ground with barely any sleep. I mean, mind you, I'm tired. I didn't come into that show rested. So like I was dead tired. And on top of that, after I was done, I went back to things as normal and I found out they're going to be in Asheville. That so let me give you my perspective. That show was so impactful for me at that time because there wasn't a whole lot of good news going on. There wasn't a whole lot of anything that really I mean, I was hopeful, I was working towards things, but I was in at that time I was in Baltimore for over a month, and I'm just like, when am I going home? Or maybe, yeah, over a month. When am I going to get to go? When am I going to get to go home? And so, like, going to that show was a bit of home because, like, me and Callie had gone to see King Gizzard in Denver, and King Gizzard is just like, no matter where I'm at, I'm listening to him. If you see my earphones in, I probably listen to King Gizzard. A couple weeks later, they were playing in Asheville, North Carolina. I was like, I'm going to Asheville and going to see them. I flew down the night before, went to Asheville, and I love Asheville. It's such a beautiful place. Actually did enjoy that flight. Number one, it was a short flight. And it was a little cheap to jump into first class before this little short flight. So I went ahead and did that. I mean, it was all right for a little hour flight, but the show was off the charts again. They played different songs. They played a couple of the same songs, but they played different songs because they have so much music. And the Asheville crowd was a little bit more. The mosh pit was fun, but I didn't get my feet stepped on. You know how many thrift stores I went to looking for like some kind of alternative shoe? Because mind you, I went to Baltimore where not much, and I went looking at all these thrift stores. Like, man, there got to be some kind of shoe. Oh, here's a steel toe shoe. Like, wait a minute, these are too heavy. I'm not carrying all that. So I just ended up wearing the same shoes, and I didn't get my feet stepped on that time. Um, but yeah, it was along with family and friends, music was my thing. I mean, I was listening to music while I was cleaning, listening to music while I was driving. I played it loud because why? James couldn't hear it because he's deaf. He had no idea. If he saw me going like this, bouncing up and down, then he started doing the same thing. One time we pulled up to pick my dad up, and I was like, my dad's gonna get a kick out of this. So I was just like, like this. If you're watching, you can see me. If you can't see me, I'm bouncing up and down, as if I'm listening to music. And my uncle starts doing the same thing, and my dad just, he got a kick out of that. So, so yeah, that's what kind of got me through. One of the most impactful parts of this whole thing was talking to my dad. I learned quite a bit about him. I've learned quite a bit about my family. And it's just my dad is a super interesting guy. And I say that, not to compel you to believe that, is more that like, dang, I knew he was cool and interesting, but he really is, he's done quite a bit. He's been all over the world. He's, you know, uh, served in like almost every branch of the military except for the Air Force. You know, who does that? He's he tells all these crazy stories and and they're true. And he has a super memory too. And like, so he's telling me about his childhood. He's telling me about these things, good and bad, that happened. Some heartbreaking, some hilarious. I think I'm going to try to get him on here so we can talk about some of these things. I think because he knows y'all are looking, he kind of like, I think that kind of gets in his head a little bit. He always wants to know what we're talking about, before we get on there. And I'm just like, let's just talk, because when we talk, it's just it winds back and forth to different subjects, because that's just I think my dad. I think I've discovered that my dad has ADHD, and I'm not diagnosing him, but he fits all the categories. So he's actually going to get. He took an online test and it said yeah, and he going. I hope he don't. I don't think he'll mind me telling you. So like this kind of explains a lot about my upbringing and my experience with him, and his experience with my other people's experience with him. But because he refocuses to different things sometimes quickly, but it's really interesting when he recalls things, and I'm hoping I can get that, get him to share that with you. But he's been through some really tough things, from war to where the town he grew up in. I know we've told you a little bit of stories when I did the podcast with him last time, but there's so much more. I think, it took a while to get him warmed up because he was a little nervous. You could probably tell. Well, I don't know if you can tell him nervous. You probably thought he was real serious, but that's not my dad. He's a funny dude. One interesting thing in reflection after coming back, I I I I can see parts of him and like me and my brother, and it's kind of interesting to see that way. A lot of times sometimes that's obvious in families, but you don't always, there's certain times where you realize like, oh, that I got that from my mom. Like that's my mom is like that. I adapted those habits from her, from him, or something like that, So as I learned about him, I learned, like, there's quite a few things that have developed in me that have, come from him. My sense of humor, my curiosity. My dad is always curious. And I think I don't have ADHD, but I, I, I think because he had his focus was on so many different subjects and so many different things. For me to see that, it became normal. So, I am into so many different things, but but generally, if I'm focused on something, I can stick with that thing and then move to something else later. Where my dad is just like, that's just kind of how he is. But sense of humor, curiosity, interest in music. My dad's appreciation of music is not as broad as like maybe mine, but I remember, as a kid, listen to his records. And so yeah, love of music and a bunch of other things. Maybe you'll see that in our future podcast. I'm grateful. I'm grateful that he survived this because I appreciate him here. I love my dad. I love my mom, and I love my family. And everything that I did for him, everything I did for James, I would do for any of them, and probably any of you. I mean, I just I do want to see people thrive and be happy, and be treated fair, and all of that. So, um, and finally, I just kind of want to talk about some reflection. I want to talk about, kind of after I got home um, and a few reflections. But I want to say thank you to all of you who stuck around. And I'm thanking you now because you're the only ones probably stuck to the end of this podcast. Thank you for all of you who stuck around, who said something nice, who said something kind, who left a nice comment. I appreciate it. To my friends and family, look, I mean, this is, no hard feelings, but like I was busy. I did not reach out to my friends, and the friends who like really wanted to check on me and make sure I was okay. They reached out to me, and I appreciated it. That's not to say that I hold it against anybody who didn't reach out, but like I was going through things, and so uh that's just, it's just how it was. But when I came back, one thing that I realized is that I need to be the authentic. Only reason I'm even sitting here talking to you is because I had that realization. Um, it's not that I'm fake or anything, but like I just need to do what I want to do. I sometimes I'm concerned about how things can be, how things could be, and I'm like any human, you know, viewed, like in terms of my channel, I'm thinking like, well, I'm a vlog, what the heck am I going to sit here and talk to anybody about? This is not what they expect, but yeah, I do travel. Yeah, I show places, but I assume that if you're following me, like it's this personality and this person also that you're following, and for that I appreciate you, and I appreciate that. And so like I realized I needed to be authentic, and I realized that like the most valuable. I think everybody knows this, but to put it in these terms was important to me. But the most valuable thing on this planet is what? It's time. You've seen poor people figure out how to get rich. You've seen people with disabilities become athletes. You've seen so many different things that people can make happen, but you've never seen in history someone getting more time. I mean, unless you're healthy and you live a little longer, but you don't get time back. When you're gone, you're gone. And seeing my dad in that state, I realized like all the memories, all the things he had done, all the accomplishments he's had, all the continents he had seen, all the people he had met, all don't exist anymore. So he should, I hope he fucking lived. Excuse me. I hope he lived. Like I hope he enjoyed his life. And I hope that I enjoy my life. And I am enjoying my life. And I will enjoy my life. And I insist upon it. I mean, like, there's just no other way. Nobody's going to stop me. I'm going to live, I'm going to just do what I want to do. Like I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna tell you how I felt some kind of way about this one particular thing. Um, I, yeah, I went to see King Gizzard, and I went to see them again. I felt like, oh man, somebody's gonna be like, oh, that's excessive. I don't know what they thought. Whatever. And I'm going to see them again on in L.A. So if y'all want to see what's up with King Gizzard, come to see him in L.A. But it's gonna be wild there, and I'm thinking about going to see them next year in Europe. And if they make it their way to South America, especially to Argentina, like I'm really itching to go there. I'm going to go there. But they were in Chile last year. Anyway, I felt weird about going them. I even had someone joke and say, "Oh, you came back a groupie." Well, no, about a groupie. I'm not like trying to get pictures of them chasing backstage, but I enjoy the music and I love the fans. I love the music. Back to the subject of this authenticity. I'm just going to be authentic. I'm going to do my best. I think we're all trying to do that. Um, and I'm just going to continue to explore. I'm going to continue to share this with you, share my life and my travels with you, my experiences. I'm going to try to teach you, things that I learned. I'm going to try to do it in a different way. I'm going to try to share my creativity, filter this universe through my spirit into the world, and that's what I plan on doing. And I hope you stick with me. I don't know where this podcast is going. I think I need a new theme. I don't know what's going on. My whole everything is just kind of shifted after the 2 months. Where everybody else, not everybody, but some people just had a normal summer. Like this was a new thing. This was something that I learned from, and it's really going to affect uh it's gonna it's really I've grown. Life's unpredictability kind of underscores the importance of being genuine, and there's no other way to be. And my dad's a good example of that, and I think that also helped me. My dad never really gave a damn about what other people think. um you know so when I first got back, it was just my cats didn't care. I mean, like they meowed at me, but they're not like dogs. And they've never greeted me like that. It was like 2.5 months. Yeah. And they didn't run up to me or something. They just like meow. It's like, hey, I've been fed. And the litter box is clean, so what's up? All right, good night. And they went back, laying back down. I was uh, pretty happy to lay in my bed, but it was really strange. It was kind of strange. It's been a while since I had been away from home for over a month. That's generally my experience, and I'm glad I got to share it with you. I hope you stuck around. I love every one of you, whether you did or didn't. But it was something I needed to share, get off my chest, and I'm glad I did. I'm ready to move past it. I have to be honest. I procrastinated on doing this because I don't know why. I don't know. Somebody tell me why. Maybe it's because I was afraid to reface all that. I mean, I'm generally somebody who just keeps moving forward. So looking back, sometimes get me a little anxiety. I don't want it's done. I can reflect without like kind of, dwelling on it. But I don't think this is what that was. And I think it was pretty healthy to kind of, get it out there. So that's what it is. So I have a lot of plans. Give me another minute or two. I have a lot of plans for the channel. I always have. I expected to do a whole lot more and have a whole lot of other videos this summer, but it didn't work out that way. But I have a lot of plans for the channel. I have some videos already ready to come. Hopefully you enjoy. I have some help with the channel. I'm also going to start opening memberships. In this way, you'd be able to be a member of my channel through YouTube and support me in whatever ways you want. And yeah, I'm way organized and ready to go. So final update, dad is safe. He's in his new apartment. My uncle's on his way to that. Apartment's gone and I'm okay. And I'm back with you. And I'm happy to be here. So stick with me and and let's go outside and explore. I love you very much, and I'll see you next time.